The whole the whole new world in college football starts today, July 1st, when NIL, official NIL, we're not talking about pay for play, starts today. I'm going to tell you guys why the Big 12 is in trouble, and it all goes back to their non conference schedule. And there are some serious doubts surrounding Arch Manning. And I'm going to give you the answers to the test about the one question that has been surrounding this kid for the entire last year. My college football playoff bracket. Go watch that video when you get a chance after you get off this live. And I'm going to explain to you why one particular team are in the spot they are. Jake Retzlaff over there at BYU. He's supposed to be out. We got to talk about the dynamics to that situation. And it's going to be some real talk and some conversations that people really don't want to have, but we're going to have it here on the Unafraid Show. And there's conference realignment stuff happening. And one of the best stories in college football that makes me love you college football fans just that much more. And that's surrounding Hugh Freeze. Can't wait to tell you that. But we are going to start with NIL because this is July 1st. This is the first day that NIL changes. This is the day when there is the $20.5 million salary cap that goes in place from the House settlement. Now, is this the end all be all? Is this going to be the magic bullet that fixes everything in college football? No. This is the first step to it because the last step and the most important step is collective bargaining, which we will get to in a little bit as well. But here is the thing today, well, actually, the last 2 days, when it has come to NIL payments, the money has been flowing. So, Open Doors, the company that tracks the NIL payments, wait till you see this. You're talking about in June, NIL collectives paid athletes 824% more than they did last June. That means that these schools and these collectives are front loading these deals because that 20 and a half million dollars, it causes an issue, particularly with a lot of these kids contracts, because they are going to be over the 20 and a half million dollars, so they have to pay them up front to be able to get to that number. And you're wondering, like, George, how does this work? Because the issue is going to be is that just the natural state of mind of people and humans, right? That if I tell my kid that look, I know that you're supposed to be paid your allowance, right? That I'm going to give you your allowance. Your allowance is $50. But because of our budget at home, I'm going to pay you $45 up front and then I'm going to pay you $5 for the rest of the year. Okay? Cool. Intuitively it makes sense. But once you get to 5, 6, 7 months down the road, that money, that front loaded money, don't feel like it's there. And then how about the next year? Because there ain't gonna be no front loaded payment. So now what do you do? So now there is the psyche of, all right, I'm not getting paid as much as I'm supposed to be paid because I am used to a certain level, and that's going to change. So you are going to have a lot of teams end up with problems on their roster. And I do project that there will be a bunch of transfer portal people coming up this year, and not because they're going to leave for way more money somewhere else. I believe that they are going to leave certain schools because they could not get the money that they were promised to get. And they're going to leave for the exact same amount of money or less because they felt lied to. I want y'all to watch that, pay attention to that, because that is absolutely going to happen. Now, there's also that athletes are projected to get paid $2.75 billion this year in rev share and NIL. Now, I want to be clear, the way we can be clear about what we're talking about. There is rev share and then there is NIL. And now the term prior to July 1st that you would hear, NIL, is not NIL. It's not. It's pay for play. That's the rev share money now. And NIL is for your name, image, and likeness. And this is where I've said that professional athletes, particularly football players, aren't a whole lot of them that have a whole lot of NIL value. Very few NFL players even make a ton of money. Like Nike was only paying one of the greatest defensive linemen of all time, who's personable, handsome, got everything going for him, in Aaron Donald, like $100,000, $150,000 a year. So why would you think that your college athlete is worth more than that man? Bingo, exactly, right? So we're in this NIL era now. And the biggest question is where do we go from here, right? Because players are going to want money. Schools are trying to get an advantage, right? Every school wants to have an advantage over the next and if they can find a way to get money to their athletes, they absolutely will. So I've talked to a bunch of people in the world of college athletics because you know I've interviewed so many coaches around this joint. And there's a lot of people that believe that the $100 handshakes are going to go back. I don't believe that. And the reason why I don't, and the main reason, is because of the punitive nature if you get caught. Now, mind you, all of this comes down to enforcement. Whether the NCAA will be successful when it comes to NIL and cleaning things up and giving a level playing field and more teams having a chance to be able to win. Because the thing that I've told you guys, the most important thing to the health and the future of college football is that more teams have hope. That they need to believe that within 3 years, if they get the right coach, the right transfer portal, and the right recruiting classes, that they can have a chance to win their conference and make the college football playoff. More teams need to have that. Besides, like the 25 that start the season, because there's 100 more teams. But the biggest component of this whole thing, and I told you that it was going to be collective bargaining, which we are a little bit away from when it comes to the players and the NCAA or whatever that uh, governing body is going to be. The most important thing, though, is the enforcement, right? So we've heard that the conferences, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC, and the group of 5 schools are trying to get their schools to sign off and essentially sign off their rights for the enforcement policy, the way they can't sue or anything, despite state laws and everything, that they are agreeing to be governed by these rules. And the name that you need to know, the most important name that you need to know in college football right now, you probably have not heard it. This man's name is Bryan Seeley. That's the man that you need to know because he is over the College Sports Commission. He's the CEO of the College Sports Commission. He is essentially the commissioner of college football. That's his job, essentially. Now, granted, he doesn't have all the powers that a commissioner would typically have, but he will have the enforcement power. And he is tasked with building a team to actually swiftly, quickly, and fairly judiciate, hand out punishments or settle issues. Now, who is Bryan Seeley? His history, man, Princeton, Harvard, and you can have all the degrees that you want to in life. If you can't put it into practice, like book smart versus wise. And by everything I've read about this man is wise. So he has spent the last, decade of his life over in MLB doing exactly this, which is dealing out the punishments and figuring out, ways to fix situations. And this is a man that has done it in the judicial system. He's done it in the private sector, in sports, and everywhere else. And this is also a man that they said it has been in the streets, in the hood at 3 a.m., talking to people, getting people to talk when he was a prosecutor and getting answers. And the biggest thing that people have said about this man is that he's a man who is going to find solutions and not just be heavy-handed in the process. So I'm actually excited about Bryan Seeley, and we're going to see how this shakes out. But the most important thing that you fans, us fans, need to be encouraged about and need to pay attention to is the fact that enforcement matters. And you guys share this with a friend. Go retweet it if you're watching on Twitter. If you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, hop in the comments. I'm going to get to the comments in a little bit, but I appreciate you guys watching the videos and everything else. So that's the NIL thing. Next thing up, we got to talk about this man right here, Mr. Arch Manning. And the biggest question surrounding Arch Manning, I got the answer to. Because Steve Spurrier, former Florida head coach, South Carolina coach, Washington coach in the NFL, he said, quote, most people are picking Texas to win the SEC in football. They got Arch Manning already winning the Heisman too. My question is, and this is the same question that so many people have had, if he was this good, how come they let Quinn Ewers play all the time last year? He was a 7th round pick. That is the question that I've heard surrounding Arch Manning more than anything else. And remember, I am the man that came on here and told y'all last year that it was a thin line and the margin was razor thin for Quinn Ewers to keep his job. So the question is, why didn't Arch Manning play? And that is a very, very fair question if he were that good. The reason why Sark played Ewers, there are 2 reasons. Number one, there was some loyalty there because Quinn Ewers had been there. He had been the established starter, and he didn't want to upset the apple cart. He wanted to give him a chance to win, and he was like, we can win with Quinn Ewers. And they did. But the question is, could they have won more with Arch? And because people are believing in Arch, and granted, he may turn out to be the second coming of Peyton Manning. But at this point in time, the sample size that we have seen does not lend itself to us being sure that he's the next best thing. They're like, but he played so great last year. Okay, did he though? Did he? Because he played in, Quinn Ewers got hurt last year, and he played significant amount in 3 games. UTSA, 9 for 12, 223, 4 touchdowns. Okay, but he's playing against UTSA, and Texas' roster was premium last year. Okay, but still, you can find a way to suck. He did not. Then came the Louisiana Monroe game, his first start. 15 for 29, 258, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Ooh, okay. Whatever. It's his first start. Then he goes to Mississippi State, 26 for 31. That's excellent. 83%. 325 and 2 touchdowns. So the question is, which guy is he? Now, granted, I got a quarterback son. I give leniency there because I do believe that you got to get your feet wet. You're going to have good games, bad games, whatever else. But he looks solid. But the question is that Georgia game. When Quinn Ewers came back, that is the part that is reasonable to ask that question. Because Quinn Ewers, when he came back against Georgia, did not have a good game. So much so that they brought Arch Manning in. And in that game, albeit very, very difficult game to play in, that was not his shining moment. It wasn't. Because Quinn Ewers was 25 for 43, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. But they pulled him out of the game to put Arch in the game. And that was Arch's opportunity to take the job. And he couldn't in that moment. So this is exactly why I believe that there is relevant questions surrounding Arch Manning. I do believe the kid is talented. I believe that he can have a great year. I believe that Texas can win a national championship with him at quarterback. However, we also cannot be willing to bet our bottom dollar at this point in time. And I've had a chance to talk to people inside the Texas building, and they love Arch. They believe in him, and it's clear that his teammates believe in him. But this question that they said that Steve Spurrier raised and other people have raised is a valid and a reasonable one. You guys think it's reasonable? Do you think it's valid? Hop in the comments because I will get to your comments as well in there. And make sure you guys like, subscribe, and all of that. Okay, so the next thing up, the Big 12 is 100% in trouble. Yes, the league is in trouble. If you look at my preseason top 25, I have 6 Big 12 teams in there. The highest ranked one is Arizona State, and then the next one is number 16. But here is and even though 3 or 4 more may be even in the top 40, I can guarantee you that nobody else is thinking like me. And unfortunately for their commissioner, Brett Yormark, their non-conference games are absolutely putrid. And their entire existence and possibility of getting 2 teams into the college football playoff or more lands on Baylor and TCU. That's it. Because let's look at their lose-lose situation for their top non-conference games this year. Their defending champion, Arizona State, has Mississippi State. That is a 100% must win. Can you imagine if one of the bottom rung SEC teams knocks off the defending Big 12 champions, what the SEC folks, or even just college football folks like me, are going to say and wonder about the conference? It's fair, right? BYU, they got a quarterback problem right now, but nobody cares because their big non-conference game is Stanford. Stanford has an interim head coach, a shell of a roster, in a conference they don't belong in, but it's a must-win. Then you got Utah, who was predicted to win the Big 12 last year but had all the quarterback issues. They go to UCLA. UCLA and Deshaun Foster, they are trending in the right direction. They are recruiting better. There's momentum, all of those things. However, nobody at this point in time is going to give you a ton of credit for beating UCLA. Now, even if UCLA finishes 4th, 5th in the Big 12, in the Big 10, that's not going to matter. People are not going to be excited about a Utah win over UCLA the way that UCLA's last season went. I'm just saying. And that's, Utah's not going to get a lot of credit for that. Then look at both Houston and Texas Tech. Their biggest and toughest non-conference game is Oregon State, who's now essentially in a G5 conference. And people are going to be all over Texas Tech and that, and Cody Campbell's NIL money if that game is even close. They're going to be on their head and be like, all right, yeah, whatever, Texas Tech. They're not going to be buying it. And then the team that I predicted to win the Big 12, Kansas State, their toughest non-conference game isn't even, if we're being honest, a true non-conference game. It's against fellow Big 12 member Arizona, right? Because it was from a prior scheduling agreement. So you're not going to get a lot of credit for that, for beating a team within your conference. Then you got West Virginia. Their only opportunities in the backyard brawl. Rich Rod's in his first season. It'll be his second game back. So West Virginia's at a disadvantage. UCF has North Carolina in Orlando. They're coming off a bye. And the Big 12 cannot afford to have Scott Frost get embarrassed in this game. They can't. They can't. 2 new coaches, Belichick versus Frost. Their rosters are semi-similar. Come on, man. Then you got Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy, who reworked his contract. This is probably the last season that he's going to get if they don't improve. They were winless in conference play last year. And who did they draw in the non-conference? Oregon. In Alton. You think that's going to be a win? No. The best they can hope for there is a non-blowout. And that's what the Big 12 has in store. Because their 3 best opportunities to make a statement are Colorado at home versus Georgia Tech, Kansas versus Missouri, and then Cincinnati in a neutral site game against Nebraska. And Nebraska ain't been good. That last season was the first time that they had a winning record in forever. First time they made a bowl game. What are we talking about? And then if Kansas beats Missouri, what are the SEC people going to say? Missouri's not a real SEC team anyway. They'll disown them like they disown them every time they lose a big game. Then you got Iowa State. Their biggest non-conference game is Iowa. And that's a rivalry game, and people throw the records out the window for that. So that's why I said Baylor and TCU are the only answers. The only hope for non-conference glory. Because you got Baylor, who has Auburn, and they play SMU. So they play an SEC team and an ACC team. Opportunity. TCU plays North Carolina and SMU. And then they got to hope that North Carolina beats a good team. Because the SEC has taught us something in college football. Is that you can be top heavy and get credit as a whole for the whole conference being good. So the best way for the Big 12 to look like a strong conference this year is for Baylor and TCU to take care of business and for nobody to lose games that they are expected to win. Just saying. That's it. All right, the next thing that we got to go on to, I could not be any more excited about this topic because this right here is exactly what makes college football fans great. This is exactly why college football fans are special. It is because of what is happening over there at Auburn with Hugh Freeze. Oh, Lord have mercy. So everybody who knows college football knows that college football fans love to track airplanes. They love to track, especially during hiring season. Oh man, they're tracking planes. They letting everybody know who's where and everything else. Well, Auburn fans, they decided, and these are message board people. These are my people, which I love because I appreciate you people. You guys have gone to Hugh Freeze. They are upset with not winning more games because he's lost 14 games in the 2 seasons that he's been there. And that is too many. Well, not too many, probably 10 too many for Auburn fans liking because they ain't been nowhere near close to the top and top of the conference. But here is what these people have done when it comes to Hugh Freeze. They have tracked his golfing. Yes, you heard it. They have tracked Hugh Freeze's golfing, people, because when you are the head coach at Auburn, you are a man who is under scrutiny. And the man has played 20 rounds of golf in 2025. How do I know? And 10 of them in June. Now, this would not be a big issue if Auburn were winning games at the level that they expected and they didn't have a slew of decommits recently. Nobody would have a problem with that. Now, here is the thing. What they did is they used the United States Golf Association's database for Hugh Freeze's score. So the database gives you an official handicap. And so he's been logging his scores in there to track his handicap so he can be, honest and let his friends know and be real about it. All of those things. Well, that has got him tracked by all of these peoples. Now, I'm not mad at Hugh Freeze for playing golf, and I actually hope he does play golf. But this is why I love college football fans, because it's the passion. We love it. We love it. We love it with every ounce of our being. And people try to do this with NFL players all the time. If you're out to dinner with your wife, why are you out to dinner with your wife instead of in the playbook? We got to eat, right? I mean, think about this. I do this to my kids all the time. Anytime something goes wrong, I blame it on them not getting enough sleep. If a grade don't come back an A or high B or something like that, see, that's your problem because you wasn't studying enough. You're not being focused enough, kid. That's literally what I do to my own kids. So, of course, college football fans are going to do it to a high-paid coach that they expect to be doing something different. And I love it. I love you guys for it, and I appreciate y'all for it because y'all, my friends, are the real ones for this. All right. Next thing up, man, this is a little bit of a touchy subject because we're going to have a very real conversation. And this involves Jake Retzlaff, the quarterback over there at BYU. And we're going to talk about something that probably some people either don't know about or don't want to be honest about. Okay, so Jake Retzlaff, quarterback at BYU. This spring, we learned that he was charged with rape. Well, excuse me. There was a civil lawsuit filed against him by a lady who said that he raped her. Okay. That's just a fact that there was a lawsuit, not saying his guilt or innocence. And this is a college football and a social conundrum because both parties recently asked the judge for a dismissal, which essentially ends the case. We don't know why. We don't know whether she has recanted. We don't know whether they came to a financial settlement. History says that that's what typically happens. We don't know, right? But what we do know is that BYU has an honor code. And their honor code says that you cannot have premarital sex. Man, mind you, the people that typically go to BYU, they'll go on more missions. They're older players. A lot of them get married. But Jake Retzlaff, a.k.a. the BYU Jew, so he's not Mormon, is living under a set of rules that don't even match his, either his religion nor his ethnicity, right? Okay. So the social dilemma is, if you are a team who's in need of a quarterback, do you take Jake Retzlaff with these accusations, even though the civil case is gone? Because I've been on record as saying that if he did this or anybody else that gets a civil lawsuit, please file criminal charges because he should be in jail. Or she should be in jail. But like, just because you pay somebody a settlement doesn't mean that you didn't do something wrong. So that's my first part of it. But that's neither here nor there. And neither is the honor code violation, because you agree to that when you go to BYU. But here is the question. Would you take him if your college football team needed a quarterback? Would you take him on your football team? Do you want him on your campus? Think about that. If you're a team that is quarterback needy, and he's been not a great quarterback, but he's been a good, solid college quarterback that you can win a lot of football games with. Do you take him? Because as a college football coach, you are paid to win football games. You are not paid to be the moral police. But you also have an accountability to yourself, the players on your team, and the community that you are tasked to protect. Now, I'm going to be honest as I can be. If I were a team that needed a quarterback, now provided we are in July, camp is starting in about 3 weeks. So there's an issue with him even being able to be ready for the season. It takes a long time to learn a playbook. Excuse me. It takes a long time to master a playbook. So then you can be really good all year. That's an issue. So the timeline is already an issue. But if I were a quarterback needy team, I would ask the kid, I would say, Jake, I need you to tell me the terms of this settlement and what really went on. Well, it's in an NDA. Look, listen, we ain't going to break your NDA and put it out in public, but I need to know. If you want to come here, I need to understand the situation that I'm dealing with. And if I find out anything that you tell me is not true, you will be off this team. I don't care at what point in time in the season. As long as we can come to that agreement, now we can have a conversation. And if I'm comfortable with what our talk yields, I would put him on my football team. If not, sayonara, wish you the best, kid. But here is the question about BYU. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky because there is a term that people have not heard, or some people have. That word is soaking. And this word soaking, it is a term that goes on that campus that involves sexual intercourse, but not sexual intercourse. You are essentially soaking your member in there, right? So you have people engaging in non-sexual intercourse on campus just using another term, and they aren't being honor coded, but Jake Retzlaff is. So this brings up another moral dilemma, because he's facing a 7-game suspension. When most kids, usually in that situation, it's either shoved underneath the rug because there were no, legal charges about it and nobody really knows. Because I know a kid that was in that situation. Or, or you are looking at a situation where, they get kicked off the team. So what would you do? And how do you look at that? Because that's an honest conversation that some people really don't want to have, but we got to have it here on the Unafraid Show. All right, the last thing that we got to talk about today before we get up out of here is what the hell is going on with the college football playoff, because I put my bracket out and you guys can go watch the video on the bracket. And if you didn't see it, here it is right here. Yes, I have Clemson winning the national championship in my bracket. And if you are an Oregon fan and you are shocked and you are disappointed in me, I'm sorry. Maybe it'll be a reverse jinx this year because I had Oregon winning the national championship last year. And when I'm looking at this bracket, I feel good about it. The longer and longer that I look at it, the more and more I feel good about it. And I feel good about the reasons. Now, the one team that everybody has questioned me about is number 1, Penn State. Penn State, the reason why I put them number 1, and mind you, I got 7 out of 12 teams right last year, including Notre Dame playing in the national championship. The reason why Penn State is number 1 is because there are no excuses for James Franklin. Every single thing is in their favor. Everything. They play Oregon at home. They play Ohio State. And Ohio State could have quarterback, offensive coordinator issues and take a little bit of a step back. Penn State has Drew Aller, who everybody loves. They think is the next Josh Allen. I do not. And this is why I have Penn State losing in the first round of the playoffs. They might make it through the regular season because everything is in their favor. But when the money's on the wood, they ain't going to be no good. You can book it. And then the other team that people have questioned me about is Illinois. I don't know what is so complicated. Illinois is this year's Indiana. That's who it is. They have a favorable schedule. They have a returning quarterback in Luke Altmaier. They have a good head coach in Brett Bielema. They have 16 returning starters. They did well in the transfer portal. 18 returning starters from the bowl game. This is all the recipes for having a really good season. That is it. That is the bare bones reason why Illinois is there. And then the question surrounds. Then the other question surrounds Clemson winning the national championship. I got Clemson winning the national championship. They got the best quarterback returning in college football in terms of where the season starts, before there's a gameplay. They have the best defensive line in college football. 2 of the top 7 wide receivers in college football. Their defense is always good. Tom Allen's doing a great job over there. Their offensive line is going to be solid. Will they get great play out of their running back? We shall see. But that could be the only question mark on this team. So that's why. But y'all continue to watch the Unafraid Show because we got so much heat coming out every single week. I'm putting out my Big Ten, Big 10, Big 12, ACC, and SEC rankings in short order. Video coming out on the coaches, on the top coaches, or on the next coach to win his first national championship. You guys, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your energy. Thanks for watching. Be one of us. And most importantly, share the Unafraid Show. Tell a friend that you love it. Peace out. Catch you guys on Thursday.